There are definitely some heavy hitters in the world of cardistry videos. When you see a new Anyone Worldwide or Lotus in Hand video in your feed, you know to get excited. One of my absolute favorites from this list of high-profile creators is Virtuoso. Their approach to videos has always blown me away. I think when I say that, most people will specifically think about the camera work in Rise. And while that element of that video is absolutely amazing, I think some of their other creative choices are overshadowed by it. For that reason, I want to talk about liquid paper. In some ways, this video is sort of an early version of Rise. It has a lot of the stylistic similarities, but without the crazy robot arm. Liquid paper was made for Virtuoso's Summer-Spring 2016 deck, so while it's clearly a cardistry video, it's also an advertisement. This actually kind of works to the advantage of the Virts though. It means they can spend time on just a simple move, that with their deck is stunning. Other people could certainly do this in their own video, but doing it as the people who made the deck is much more interesting to me, and I think has a much bigger impact. Additionally, as the designers, they can use the deck in the way they imagined it would be used. They don't have to figure out what would work or look good with the deck. They decided that back when they designed it. That doesn't mean they have to be less creative for their video. It means they're more free to explore other creative directions. This shot, for example, is literally just 2 thumb fans. That clip shows up in the middle of the video and lingers for a few seconds. That'd be pretty hard to get away with if they were just using bikes. It seems to me that they aren't approaching the video with ideas for cool moves, but just ideas for scenes that would look visually interesting. Sometimes that means showing off cool moves, other times that just means showing off the beauty of the cards with a couple of thumb fans. Another dimension they play with more than most cardistry videos is their use of video speed. They have a slow-mo camera and they're not afraid to use it. This might actually be the most characteristically Virtuoso stylistic choice. You can find it in a lot of their other content. I think the way they play around with the speed adds a couple of really nice qualities to their videos. They use it to create a really smooth pacing, and it highlights things that might otherwise go unappreciated. For that second point, I think this is really well demonstrated in this clip. He's not doing anything crazy here. Not to brag, but I could do an uglier version of everything he's doing here. But I still find myself replaying this clip every time I watch the video. Seeing L cuts in slow motion makes you appreciate how far the packet has to move to get to the index and middle finger. Not only does it have to move pretty far, but it has to do it mostly on its own. They're so much more elegant than I've ever given them credit for. What's usually a quick filler move is highlighted by a slower playback speed. The most common use of speed manipulation, however, is seen in between the moves. They almost always end with moving the camera away, speeding up the footage, and the next shot picks up with the same thing but in reverse. I can see how some people might think this is a bit overdone, but I'm actually a pretty big fan of it. It's not something you might even think about on the first watch, but it gives the video a really unique style. A good tip for beginners when filming your first video is to always record the footage before and after the move. Bonus points if you have an idea of what you want the footage to be. These transitions can really add a lot to the cohesion of the video. Liquid paper really feels like a well planned out video. It knows when you might start losing interest and will throw something different at you in response. Keeping the scene fresh is a great way to keep viewers engaged. Despite the constant variation, they never let the shot feel too busy or out of place. It's all filmed in the same room with the same plain backdrop. All you'll ever see are people in the cards. They just play around with many ways of showing people in cards. Some of my favorite cardistry videos are really hindered by how samey the entire thing is. The Virts really put a lot of effort into not having the clips look exactly the same. For example, they often will cut to 2 cardists doing different moves at the same time, which is a pretty unique scene. There are definitely other videos that like to have 2 moves in a single shot, but it's rarely done as much or as effectively as in liquid paper. It's actually a bit surprising that more people haven't played around with pairing moves like they do here. Sometimes the moves pass through each other, sometimes they sync up and mimic each other, and sometimes they just create a really nice contrast. This plays a big part in making the video so rewatchable. If you've only seen it once, you've missed out on most of the moves. Another way they keep the video interesting is really subtle. Everyone performing has a very distinct style. None of them are wearing anything really colorful, which makes the cards pop, but you can still tell who's who even if you never heard of the Virts. There's a guy in gray, a guy in black, and a guy in gray and black. And in case that's too confusing, one has a bun, one has a hood, and one has a hat. It might not be a big deal, but it's really nice that you can easily follow each person individually. While the main character of the video is definitely the cards, you can follow the people too. Finally, there's this clip. I don't actually have anything to say about this, just look at the closer. God, that's so good.